Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody
Damn,
watching.
watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on, y'all, man? How y'all doing today? How everybody doing today, man? Why everybody so upset in the comments, dog? What's up, man? What y'all upset for? Y'all acting like Washington lost or something. So now let me stop, man. Welcome into another post-game edition of the Trap or Die podcast, bro. Obviously, you know why we're here. 20-12. The Giants on the road beat the Washington Commanders. Dre and AJ is in. Before we even get started, man, fellas, how y'all feeling? How's your day? And then let's talk about, the shit.
I feel like shit, Jamal. It's almost midnight.
No way around it.
Up to watch these dudes shit the bed on national TV. To me, it was bad. I felt like they laid an egg, and I mean, there was a couple of moments in the game, but I mean, they just laid an egg, and it was an awful night, man. This just wasn't good at all. This wasn't what you wanted to see coming out of your bye week.
Yeah, 100% agree. They laid an egg. The wildest thing is like just seeing them still have little answers in the trenches. But I think the biggest conversation is really like what I've said and what we've said like from time to time. Like we focus on the quarterback a lot, and the quarterback had issues today. I'm not excusing that, but like the biggest thing for me that I've always harped on is like, bro, you ain't going to stand too much of a chance with this offensive line. And I just feel like they had their gaffes at times that really hurt this offense. But that's a side note. AJ, give you the floor, man. How you feeling? And opening thoughts on the game.
I mean, I feel like I just watched another poor performance of a quarterback, and also just coaching overall. Like, yeah. I feel like both sides of the ball, honestly, like if you put in perspective, you played this team 2 weeks ago, you coming off a bye, they did nothing absolutely different from the game 2 weeks ago. Like nothing different. The only thing different, I guess you could pinpoint to offensively, for some reason, there was this obsession tonight to go to empty sets. Like they probably went to empty sets at least 8 times. And it was always on third down. Like, it's just like that they're blitzing and your quarterback doesn't read and anticipate fast enough. So what do you expect to happen? Like, you went to empty set in your own end zone. And of course it was a strip sack fumble for a touchdown. It's just like it was just poor coaching overall, like from even the attempts or the lack of an attempt. 34-yard line, you don't want to kick a field goal. Like, you want to punt the ball. Then even the 2-point conversion, I felt like even with the penalty being at the 12-yard line, you still should go for that. Because either way, you're still down. There's no way that you could go up unless you fucking score a touchdown at that point. And you're really, like, having trouble stopping them defensively. So, I mean, that's my initial thoughts. I mean, overall, this is what Washington does on national TV anyways. But a lot of the stuff that I feel like I touched on as far as, like, taking advantage of the opportunities to score in the red zone, they didn't do. And, they're the same exact team. They were, 2 for 10 2 for 10 on third downs again. They scored 1 touchdown. I mean, you had Taylor Heineke, who, excuse me, maybe because we just watched the game, but I felt like that last play at the end, he ran like a bitch. Like, he started overthinking, and that's why he tripped. because he was like, he don't know how he wants to approach it, but the dog in you should just try to run him over. Like, it really is not that much space. Like, he's sitting there shuffling his feet instead of just running forward. And yeah, he trips. And then all of a sudden, it's just everything else just started collapsing from there. And unfortunately, a lot of the fans are about to blame, oh, there was no PI at the end of the game. Your team should fucking be able to score in the red zone, especially when you have two big ass backs in Brian Robinson, Antonio Gibson, and you have a big target in Logan Thomas. You should be able to draw up some. Even that second and goal play, they did a jet sweep to Diami Brown. Like, why the fuck is Diami Brown playing all of a sudden tonight? Like, in multiple snaps. I'm just confused. Why is he doing jet sweeps? It was just a lot overall.
My main thing offensively, it was obviously the red zone. What was it? Let me take a look. 1 of 3 in the red zone. And then at one point they were 0 for. Oh my god, this is actually even worse. At one point they were 0 for 6 on third down. And that was in the second half, and they finished 1 of 10 on third down altogether. I do want to say, before I get into my point, that last call, I didn't even think it was pass interference until I saw the replay. That shit was egregious. You should have a first and goal after all of that. I had no idea how bad it was until I saw the replay. I just thought he got strapped. I thought everybody got strapped. Lo and behold, the refs missed a blatant DPI. But back to the point, 12 points altogether, man, is just crazy inefficiency for several reasons. It showed itself early in the game, and some people, say, like, how do you come out of the bye week looking this flat? Truthfully speaking, fellas, like, they were still efficient on those first and second downs for the most part, and then all of a sudden, those third downs hit them, or like they'll have like that random what AJ mentioned. They'll have like that random jet sweep. Like, they ran like 3 jet sweeps in the first half. 2, I believe, went to Curtis, and then 1, or maybe it was 1. It was 2 runs to Curtis in particular. Actually, matter of fact, Curtis had a power handoff that went nowhere. Kayvon blew it up, and then he had a jet sweep that Kayvon blew up as well on the edge, blowing up Logan Thomas. Like, the run game in itself, when you understood what they were doing, Brian Robinson could not be stopped all night. Like, he showed you how powerful he was in several different situations. He showed you that he was finding the running lanes. He found lanes and created lanes for himself. And every single time that he was in a rhythm, or Antonio Gibson, because at one point, matter of fact, Antonio finished 5 for 21. And then he had one long run that really was like a slight hold on the edge. But at the end of the day, like, he had another 11-yard carry that was showing like how effective Brian and Antonio were as ball carriers. And then you change up the rhythm. Now, I'm not upset that you give it to Curtis Samuel, right? I'm not upset. But I think the issue, because Curtis Samuel has been effective all season in the role that he has for Washington. However, they showed early on, like after his third carry, that they had that shit on lock. Why are we continuing to go back to the Curtis Samuel well when they have that shit on lock, bro? They understand how you're dressing Curtis Samuel up. They understand how you want to get the ball to him. There are several different ways you can get it, but they were prepared for all of them. Keep feeding your 2 main guys, specifically Brian Robinson, who nearly had 100 yards on the day. He had 30 in the first quarter, over 30 yards in the first quarter. He finished with 12 carries for 89 yards. And he had over 30 yards in the first quarter. The fact that Scott Turner wasn't able to really have a good feel. I don't know who was in charge, by the way, by the running back rotations. Because I know at one point, Randy Jordan, I think he handled the substitutions and things like that. And some coaches around the league, they handle the substitutions and flow like that. But the fact that they continued to not utilize Brian Robinson in situations where he clearly was in a rhythm and he was clearly hot, he should have well over 12 carries out of this game. Washington should have well over 26 carries altogether in this game. And yet they had 12 carries, 3 of which were from the running back. 3 of which were from Taylor Heineke. Like, that was just kind of crazy just to see them like get in their own way, not being able to stay to the ground game.
And Mual, to kind of compound on that, to all of the things that you and AJ been mentioning that they went away from, how about the fact that something we called before the game, where we were talking about Taylor Heineke keeping more on those RPOs plays. He kept it one time and was successful on that, and then we didn't see it
3
anymore.
plays later.
And the Giants seemed like, well, one of those was a naked bootleg that he had got, a big amount of yards on, but that didn't look like an RPO play like we had been seeing. But it seemed like every RPO play, Thibodeau and the Giants defense were waiting for us to hand it off on a running back, even after Taylor had the one successful keeper on one of those RPO plays, and we just didn't see it anymore. So it was like you said, like that's one of the things that kind of annoys me about Scott Turner. You just feel like he doesn't have a feel for the game. Like what's working, let's go to what's working instead of trying to force what's not working. And it was clear that the Giants were ready at all points in times for the Curtis Samuel handoff. Like that's one of the staples in the offense that Scott Turner likes to call, but the Giants were prepared for that every time we called that play, and we did not go to certain plays that worked for us. And then, like you said, that the Brian Robinson thing just bothered me. I mean, the guy's averaging well over 7 yards a carry, and he only rushes for 12 carries tonight. He has 12 carries total tonight, and this is an anomaly, especially when you consider that, even though the Giants had took the lead after Taylor Heineke's fumble and whatnot, but TLP, time of possession, we were still right there with the Giants, and this was always a game that was within striking distance. So it was really no reason to kind of get away from Brian Robinson in this game. And he's the type of running back that gets better with carries, and you only give the guy 12 carries in a game where he's averaging over 7 yards a pop. So it's like, where's the feel for the game as a coordinator? And then, Ron Rivera just bothered me a lot in this game. I mean, to me, it really just annoys me when I notice a coach just kind of trying to coach to not lose a game. And I just felt like Ron did that throughout the game. And one of the key swinging moments in this game, I believe it was maybe the Giants were up 7-3 at this point, I think. And I think we were if I remember correctly, we were in Giants territory at this point. We were actually on their 40-yard line, and we ran across a 4th and 6 play. We punt the ball. We punt the ball on 4th and 6. I said right there, go for it. You're in Giants territory. This is a chance, you're down 7-3. Do not give them any momentum. They punted the ball. Giants get the ball, 2-3 yard line, which you think is pinned, but they used that drive, and they actually had a big 4th down conversion on that drive. It was like 4th and 9. And that was the swing I noticed. I said, look, on our drive, 4th and 6, we didn't go for it. We punt them the ball. Giants get the ball next drive, and they're at 4th and 9 in our territory. They go for it. They get it. They end up scoring the touchdown. That's the swing in the game. So I saw one coach playing for a win, and I saw one coach playing for a lose.
Bro, they drove 97 yards and converted a 4th and 9 on that. And scored. Yeah, and I said it in the chat. I guess I don't want to necessarily say it here, but
I'm about to say you gotta be careful, bro.
Right.
But it's just poor coaching, man. It's like there's no aggressive nature here, and it's so frustrating and weird for me because it's like you don't understand how momentum works. Like you talk about so much about analytics and stuff, but yet the wind is not even blowing at the stadium. You don't attempt a kick from the 34. You instead punt it, and you play soft. And literally the next drive, the opposing coach doesn't give 2 fucks and goes down there and scores a touchdown. That was a huge drive for them. You feel me? That really took everything out of defense. It almost was like there was no defense on the field. To have the Giants drive the ball 97 yards and score a touchdown is insane, bro. This team has been struggling just as bad offensively as Washington has. And even none of us really said it, but Richie James, dog, he fucking served up Bobby McCain all game. And it's like Bobby was in position but did not trust himself well enough, or he could have really made some impactful plays. He could have had a pick 6 on one of those 3rd downs. He read it pre-snap. He sat there and shuffled his feet.
Towards the sideline.
Just waited when he literally could have just read the play all the way, and it was a pick 6 to the crib.
Yeah, I agree. I was just trying to add because you was hitting on it, bro. AJ, what they like that 97-yard drive really showcased it, because obviously like 97 yards, like Daniel Jones was on one, but like attacking the middle of the field and the slot cornerbacks. Al too said it in the chat as well when we first started, but like they kept finding a way. Like Bobby McCain is a person who's in position all the time, most times, and like his issue is he doesn't make plays on the football. That's the reason why he wasn't like in the center field anymore. It's the reason why they put him in the slot. Like they trust his instincts, but like he's not really making plays on the football. And to your point, you kind of brought it out just now, but also the fact that the Giants were able to attack the middle of the field and also pick on the slot cornerback situation is why I also believe like Benjamin St-Juste coming back was a real big deal for this team, because you're not asking Danny Johnson to play outside anymore. And while I don't think Danny Johnson had like a bad game or anything like that, you know, they had to find somebody to pick on. They tried Danny Johnson out the gate, and Danny Johnson had 2 PBUs, I believe, out the gate. And then obviously they started focusing on the slot matchup. Richie James he's an incredible athlete in terms of like quick twitch, and his quickness, and like he made him pay in some key situations. I wanted to add on to the fact that we were talking about the coaching thing, and Dre, you had brought it up. So I guess I'll slightly touch on it for a second, but I think the difference, like when you mentioned like the playing not to lose thing, like I think the identity is so clear. My bad. I think the identity of this team is so clear based on like their decision making. And like again, you touched on it. It was the 2 calls, the one on the 4th down where you're punting. Excuse me, not the one on the 4th down, but the first drive where you're punting on the New York Giants 34-yard line. Granted, 4th and 12, right? Okay. But I think also another thing, if you're at the 31-yard line of the New York Giants and you plan on not kicking a field goal if something happens, why not plan to go for it? Like, why not use your running back on a 3rd and 9 and see if you can get 7 yards or 6 yards or something like that and keep yourself in a decent conversion ability or something like that. I don't understand. But to the point, and to add on, like that 4th and 12 was enlightening because you didn't kick a field goal there. And then the one that you brought up right before the 97-yard drive from the Giants, when you're in situations like this and like you're so wrapped up in who you think you're supposed to be, like why are you waiting? Like the only time that they really, for whatever reason, put trust in Taylor Heineke on 4th down is when they're losing or they really need to play. Like if you see how he's able to create and extend plays in some big moments, like think about the last play of the game. Like he bought extra time, and I'm not saying the play call itself is whatever. I don't even know. You got to look at the tape and see if it was even worth it. I don't know. But like he shows you the ability to extend plays and create time and allow receivers to get off their marks and find some opportunity on scramble drills. Like those 4th down calls in the beginning of the game, I think is indicative of like them just really believing that they have to be this one thing all the time. And it clearly shows that like that margin of error, like you find yourself down 14-3. Like you found yourself down 14-3, and it felt like they were down 28 to, it might as well be 28-6. Like that's how bad it was. And it showed itself at the very end when they're not able to even put up like they couldn't score more than 12 points against the New York Giants, man. And I shouldn't have been surprised given that, you know, they just got whooped on by the Eagles. Like typically teams bounce back, they have pride. Like that is what it is. But like you can't go out like this after a bye week playing the same opponent 2 times in a row. It just shows like how much of a problem you are, and how much further you have to go as a team, man. And like there's gonna be a ton of stories this week for sure. All right, so look, everybody in here, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We appreciate y'all checking in for the post-game show. The link is in the description for the YouTube side. We'll take 1 or 2 calls if anybody wants to call in. Otherwise, we will get to Taylor Heineke in the meantime.
What about that bum?
Yeah, I'm about to say, hey,
what is there to talk about? I mean, it just goes to show if this team can get a average quarterback, not elite, not above average, but a average quarterback, that they can be a better team offensively. I mean, of course, you also need a better offense coordinator. I mean, been harping
Those
on this
fumbles were
forever.
so
Like,
bad, bro.
I mean, it's just there's an art of play calling. I say this shit all the time. It's probably repetitive, but it's definitely an art to play calling. Like, you can't have momentum with Brian Robertson and then just go away from him altogether. I don't know. My man Dre over there look like he about to go to sleep. So hey, go ahead, give some input, Dre.
So listen, my bad. I was just gonna say those two fumbles were bad, bro. Like that's why I was like, I don't even know like how much more we can say, because like those fumbles started coming out of nowhere, AJ. Like at one point he was good, he was well at protecting the football. Then like an onslaught, and it really started with the Giants. It's a crazy thing. He's had 4 fumbles against the Giants.
That's
bro.
what I'm saying. So you might as well play Wentz. Like, even you talked a little bit about that fourth down play at the end of the game, bro. He could have ran. Like, let's keep this shit a buck, bro. He had 2 attempts to run, and he did not run. The guys were so far back that he would have scored. He's not slow. He's athletic enough. He could have scored on his own without even throwing that ball.
Yeah, I ain't gonna
Didn't
lie, I
even
replayed
necessarily
it.
need to be a pass interference. Like, it's just this man is in his own head and not even using his strengths to benefit him. Like, we've been begging for him to keep the ball on the RPO. Finally does. And there were other opportunities where he should have kept it as well, and he just gave it. I could tell that the one that he ran on was a force. You're keeping the ball, run that shit. It was not
Yeah.
even an option. It wasn't even an RPO. It was an RP, nigga. Run that shit.
Nah, I must say he told him, he was like, "Hey, bro, you ain't doing nothing. Like Kayvon is crashing. Keep the ball, bro. Keep the ball." And 3 plays later, that's why I was trying to bring it up, because I thought you was about to bring it up, Dre. 3 plays later was when he had another RPO to keep it or to hand off, or excuse me, to pass it to Jahan Dotson. And he handed it off to Brian Robinson, and Brian had like 2 yards on the play, and he would have had like a bigger one if he would have kept it. So
And
that's why I was like, he had options, bro.
That's what I was saying. Like, I mean, no one thinks for one. I mean, I know there's some smart asses out there. Oh, he's not a running quarterback. No, we don't think he's a running quarterback. But there's plays where he can keep the ball. You know, and like you said, like we're watching this game, and actually, you know, they run these RPOs a lot, and they just hand the ball off to the running back. That's typically what they do in games. So that's what defenses are expecting. And Kayvon Thibodeau was biting so hard on the run every time those happened that, you know, you would have thought that he could have kept it on some of those. And you mentioned, Jamal, right after the one where he had a successful keeper, he had another play where he could have kept it on and he could have ran, but he gave it right to Brian Robinson just for a loss or just a minimal gain, because Kayvon was biting on it. That's why I say, and most teams play us like that because they never really expect him to keep it on those runners. Like I said, we're not expecting him to go out there and be Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or anything, but there's plays where he can keep the ball and have a successful game. You've seen it one time in the game, and the Giants didn't expect it at all. So I just thought that was something they could have went back to the well to maybe 1 or 2 times more in the game.
Hey, well, Taylor Heineke is gonna die next week. Whatever, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know what day the game is on against the 49ers,
Saturday.
but Nick Bosa is coming, dog. Like,
Facts.
Charles Reno is getting paid $12 million to be ass, like straight ass. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do, man. It's just a bit confusing at this point.
Well, I guess I can ask the question now. I asked it before the game. AJ and Jamal, both. I mean, was this game something where you can look at and say, damn, man, we might have to start thinking about going back to the Carson Wentz well? Or do you see Taylor just coming back, starting again next week against the 49ers? Like he did enough tonight to say that he's not going to get benched this week.
AJ, you want to go? Or you want me to go first?
I mean, I think you got to switch it up at this point, because if this team, like I said, had just an average quarterback throwing the ball, this is a whole different game. This is probably a blowout, because Giants cornerbacks are so bad. Even though they're coming at you with blitzes and different pressures.
Boy, Jahan went off.
Huh?
I said that boy Jahan went off.
Yeah, but you have playmakers at wide receiver that if you had a average quarterback, you'd be able to push the ball downfield so much more. Like, I think tonight, off the top of my head, Taylor threw for 268, and
yeah, 249.
he's not even good. So if you had Carson Wentz out there throwing the ball alongside this running game, you'd be able to play action a little bit more. You'd be able to threaten the ball downfield more. I think tonight we seen them take 2 attempts downfield to Diami Brown. Then we also seen them take that attempt to Jahad Dotson, which I missed live. But at the end of the day, that's the most attempts that you've seen them do downfield in a game, probably during this whole streak, in one game. So that just tells you that they knew that they could beat these. They knew that they had playmakers to beat these guys secondary. They just didn't trust Taylor Heineke to do it. It's like, hey, we're just gonna try this as an attempt because we're down so bad. What I think the score was 17. What was it, 17-3? Or was it 17-6?
3-3.
So you're now forced to pass. And they put themselves back in the game by passing.
Oh, no, I'm tripping. 14-3. Yeah, I forgot they scored. Right.
Like who the fuck? Like can anybody even remember one of the Giants cornerbacks or safeties? Like who is a?
Only the easy one because of the nigga that played
I know
for
Darnay Holmes because he was a top high school recruit. Top player that went to UCLA.
That's my cheat code. Oh, he didn't got disconnected. Well, let me go ahead and answer the question then right quick, Dre. While I got some time. So, hey, I think that Washington is probably gonna. So, to rehash everything, if you all weren't in here Thursday evening, we had asked, what Dre had asked us just now, like what happens with Heineke or the quarterback situation if something were to happen in a negative fashion. If Taylor was to have a bad game, when do you start talking about Carson? Personally, Dre, I think this is one of those games where you do reevaluate. And the way that I have this feeling that Ron is so committed to everything that's working right now, I think the only way that he's going to make the switch is if Taylor gets killed in San Fran, not in the literal sense, but he gets killed in San Fran and he has another bad game, like one that you cannot deny is like, all right, the playoffs are slipping out of our hands. Taylor did a good job keeping us afloat, but now we got to go back to Carson. We're going to go back to Carson for these last 2 games, and we're going to hope and ride with the dog that we traded in with, traded for, excuse me. But I think that he's going to keep Taylor in against San Fran. I don't think it's going to look pretty. I think we kind of know what's going to happen because of his offensive line. And then he's going to say, all right, it's time to make the switch back to him. So that's kind of where I'm at now, just seeing how this game played out.
And yeah, I mean, that's why I was asking the question, and specifically because, pregame, when I asked you all that question on Thursday, my whole point or premise was that if they lose this game and Taylor is a reason that they lose this game, then you have to have the conversation at the very least. And to me, 2 Taylor turnovers led to 10 points, and you gave up 20 in this game and you scored 12. So technically, you don't give up those tail, and you may even have an extra field goal on the board because he gives up one of those fumbles right there where they're at least about to score a field goal there, in the red zone. So he gives up 10 points directly to his turnovers in a close game. And, a lot of his turnovers could have lost his games before, but we weren't making that change because we were winning those games. You don't fix what's not broken. That's the conversation we have been having. But now you're at the gritty time. You're at the point now where you've activated Carson Wentz off of injured reserve. So he's back now. So now Taylor has more incentive to play good. So we all kind of thought going into this game that Taylor would maybe have a fire lit under his ass, and maybe he's going to go out there and play better than he has the last couple of weeks, because now you do have Carson Wentz waiting over your shoulder again. And you also have the situation where you kind of feel it. And I think Taylor, he has enough self-awareness to know that I have to play my best, or they're going to go back to Carson Wentz at any moment. So then you come out and you have this game, and 2 of your turnovers in this game lead directly to 10 points in a game where you probably win this game if you don't have those unnecessary turnovers. And then you look at it, I don't think the Giants had a turnover today. So that's the difference in this game. It's the difference in this ball game where Taylor Heineke's turnovers and Washington didn't. I mean, of course, we can talk about those bad calls or lack thereof at the end of the game. And yes, they were egregious. They were really, really bad. But for me, I'm focused on the why they got to that point, and they got to that point because they actually had a point where in this game where they could have took control and they could have won this game, but Taylor's turnovers were the momentum changer in this game, and you just can't have that when you are this type of team fighting for this playoff spot like they are.
Hey man, I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. So last thing on my side that I have to say is actually about the call. So Terry McLaurin got flagged for the illegal. And it's crazy because Brian Robinson scored on this, and this is actually another like key moment. It was obviously a key moment. But Terry McLaurin, they talked to him after the game, and McLaurin said in the locker room that the official told him that he was good when he checked in to make sure that he was on the line of scrimmage. And even on the replay, like everybody knows, like Terry checked in 2 times with that dude, and if he got told that he's good. How on God's green? Matter of fact, I would like to know who flagged him personally, because I really didn't. I honestly didn't see who flagged him, like who threw the actual flag. I don't know if it was the person who he checked in with, or maybe it was somebody else on the other side or something. I'm not sure, but like hearing that, just understanding that the communication dropped, or the refs dropped the ball in communication when Terry clearly had intentions on checking in, and that he visibly showed that he was trying to check in. Like that is not a mistake on Terry. That is a mistake on the person who is telling him whether or not he's good. And that was a literal touchdown taken off the board for Washington in that instance. Again, shouldn't have 12 points in that moment. But when you're talking about that last drive where everything matters even more than everything else before that moment, that was huge. Fellas, I see you all in the comments. I see you all in the chats. Fellas, AJ, Dre, y'all got any last thoughts about the game before we go ahead and book it for the night?
No, man. I mean, I feel yeah. I guess these are the games that make you say you need a different head coach. Like,
ooh, I do got one more thought now. All right,
you can hear me?
Yeah. No, I said I got one more thought too now.
Yeah, I mean, you can go on these win streaks, whatever, but like, you need someone who is actually going to coach during a game, and you're not seeing none of that from Ron Rivera. Like, you didn't even really see adjustments after halftime, and also putting people in the right positions to do their job. Like, Scott Turner is not a good coordinator, point blank period. Like, a lot of times the national media, when they have these games, they try to give him credit or whatever from deviating from a plan, but this should have always been the strategy anyways. It's just that this dude cannot call games. Like, it's frustrating. It's almost as if, like, imagine you're playing Madden, right? And you're playing against the computer. Then your little cousin comes over that's 6 years old, and he's just so adamant on playing. You just give him the controller, but it's not really powered on, and he thinks he's playing. Like, that's how Scott Turner calls games. Like, it's just like, are you really even watching what is going on? To keep calling those plays to Curtis Samuels and jet sweeps that are failing is like, are you stupid? Like, are you blind? And just alienate the fact that Brian Robinson is killing on the ground. Like, I don't know, man. It's just, that's where it's so weird as a fan, because you're in a standstill just what's happening with this team because of the pending possible sale. It's like, you don't even know what's to come for next year, even though you got the rest of the season still available to you. But San Francisco, we'll get into it further down the week, but it's an L. There's no way they're beating San Francisco.
Dre, any last things?
Last things is, man, like I'm very disappointed in how they came out of this bye week, and this was something I talked about, last week in all of our pre-talks for the game, was that you wanted to see them come out with a sense of urgency. It's one of the things you always hope your team comes out of a bye with a sense of urgency. This sense of, we have to get this game, especially where you had this bye week. This bye week is late in the season. You've already been making your playoff push. You know what it takes. You're controlling your own destiny. And I just felt like they came out flat, which is just really disappointing for Ron Rivera because, Ron Rivera, usually his thing is his teams get better as the years go on. They get better in November and December. That's usually when they play their best football. And that had been true coming up into this point, at least until they played the Giants the first game when they tied. A lot of us didn't feel like they should have tied. But then at least when you tied, you have a bye week, you feel like, okay, you're coming with a home game after this bye week against a team you just tied with. This is a game you have to come out on fire. You know what you expect out of this team. You just faced them. You're preparing for them 3 weeks in a row, and then you come out with the performance that you had. I mean, we had 3 points all the way into the third quarter, and that's just not. The Giants have 14 points at the half, so you're already down double digits at halftime. That's not a team that comes out prepared to play this football game. That's not, or at least not a team that comes out prepared to win this football game. And that was my issue throughout this game. I didn't feel like Ron Rivera and his staff had this team prepared to win a football game today. Like Ron Rivera and his staff seemed like, okay, we're gonna, take what the Giants give us and we'll move here, but we don't want to make too much of a noise right here because we don't want to, whatever the case may be. They were coaching scared and they just didn't seem prepared for this game. And that's really disappointing in December to talk about a Ron Rivera team, especially one that was controlling their destiny right out of a bye week.
Yeah, fellas, for me, last thing, man, once again, like the team fails to live up to their own expectations that they put on themselves. And what I mean by that is, like, this time it wasn't to the highest degree in which they've done in years past, where Ron Rivera has like flat out matter of fact, I take that back. Yeah. Yeah, John Allen, Charles Leno, Derek Forrest, they asked all of these fans over the past 2 weeks, pack this stadium out. We need your support. We want you to come through. They had bought tickets. They bought tickets for fans to pull up. I know people who answered the call. Like one dude that works, I work with for Hawks Haven in Cali, got tickets to the game, free tickets, pulled up. Like, he took a trip from Cali to see these men, and he ain't seen a Skins game in 6 years. He ain't been to FedEx in 6 years. Like, people answered these calls from the players that they want this stadium packed, and for Washington to like harp up on those moments time and time again with this team in recent years under Ron Rivera. And then one time specifically that I remember in 2018, that Houston game, the one where Alex Smith got hurt, leading to that week, they also wanted the same thing, like fan support. They just want so much fan support, and you have a big moment like this and you lay an egg. I just think that that's just emblematic of everything that like goes wrong with this team. And that goes kind of sometimes in a context speaking, it goes a little bit beyond Ron Rivera and his regime. But at the end of the day, he still has dropped the ball on several occasions and several big moments with this team. And this is another one. And luckily for them, they're still in the playoff race. They only swap spots. So now they're in the 7th seed. But at the end of the day, you got 3 more games with the Detroit Lions hawking everybody in that wild card race. And losing to the San Francisco 49ers does not help your case, because you could not afford, and we said it a million times, you could not afford to lose to the Giants. So having this moment that you created for yourself, having this moment where you encourage fans to come out and support you all, and you wanted to put a product out there clearly that was something worth supporting, you failed to do that. And you cannot continue to fail to do that moving forward, because like you only get but so many opportunities to impress a crowd and impress a fan base. And when they think about this being like the same old Redskins, same old Commanders, same old football team, like that is where you run into trouble. And you can't afford to have that when you had these moments that are very few, far in between. So you're at this point, you're just hoping that they hold on. If you want that playoff race to actually mean something for this team and have them in the wild card spot. So you just hope that they hold on, because right now it's not looking too good, and you can't keep fumbling and throwing up on yourself when you had these opportunities.
Nah, I mean that's an excellent point, and maybe you might even want to write on that on Hog Haven. You feel me? Because at the end of the day, when you're hearing that Jonathan Allen spent $13,000 on tickets for fans to come to the game, and y'all ain't putting up no damn points, y'all ain't stopping these boys defensively. It's like, who's coming to these games, bro? Like, it's 25 degrees outside. I'm about to sit outside to watch y'all boys put up 3 points in the first half in a game that you must have essentially. Nah, dog. Like I I can't do it.
Yeah. Nah, that's a fact, bro. Like I'm gonna hit bro up tomorrow, the dude who came from Cali, but I know he feeling some type of way, bro. 6 years. And this is what you pull up to, bro.
He's
And I ain't
stupid on his own. No disrespect to him.
Nah, I ain't gonna. I can't clown him, but I get it. Like I would have told him if he'd have talked to us. I was like, bro, don't waste your time coming out here. I would have told him that. But look, man, I feel for those people who answered the call, and that's what they saw in front of them tonight. But fellas, we're gonna get up out of here, man. Al too, you already know it, man. They got a little compared to us, comparatively speaking. You're right. They do got a cupcake schedule. But they do got teams on there who are playing good despite their records. So you never know. Schedule wise, fellas, we back Tuesday, Thursday as well. No morning show tomorrow morning. We'll be back on the morning show Wednesday morning. So y'all take it easy. Enjoy your day. Tomorrow, I guess, whenever you're watching all that stuff. And we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Peace.